Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored Never Boring. In this video I'm going to be putting some more paint on my 1990 copy of HeroQuest, but rather than painting any particular miniature, I'm going to show you how I am going to be painting all of the bases for my miniatures, and for this I'm going to be using a skeleton which I will be painting in the next video I will be posting. But you can see that all HeroQuest miniatures have these integral bases, and you could put things like flock material and stuff on them, but I wanted to do something that was a little bit more in keeping with the board game design, so something that would actually tie them to the board game. So to do that, I'm going to paint a sort of flagstone pattern on these tiles. As you can see, I've started by applying some Chaos Black to get a base coat, and then I'm going to use Mechanicus Standard Grey. And what I'm going to do here is block out flagstone shapes, and there's no real reason or rhyme to the size or shape of the flagstones. I'm just doing what looks nice, so I'm gradually working around the base and I'm just applying those blocks of colour. And you have choices here. You can do regular sized rectangular flagstones, but I wanted to do irregular patterns, so that's what I'm doing here. And to get this looking kind of nice, you want to use different sizes. You don't want all of the flagstones to be the same sort of size or shape. I'm blocking in larger ones, and then between the larger ones I'm dotting in smaller ones. And you can see that between each one I'm leaving a reasonably wide area of the Chaos Black showing through. And the HeroQuest miniatures do have a bit of a cartoony look to them, so these bases will have a similar sort of cartoony-ish look. So you can see that in this video I'm showing you a little bit more of the paint going on than I normally would in one of my quick painting guides, but that's just to give you a better idea of exactly how I'm going about blocking out these areas of colour. And one coat of Mechanicus Standard Grey should be enough for this, because we're going to be layering some other colours on top, but if you want to, you can put down 2. When that's completely dry, you want to switch to a lighter grey. In this case I am switching to Dawnstone, and what I've done is I've thinned this paint down quite a lot because I want it to go on a little bit streaky, and I don't want it to be solid blocks of colour now. I want bits of the Mechanicus Standard Grey to show through, and I want a little bit of that Chaos Black to peek through as well. I'm going to work around the base, and I'm going to apply thin coats of this, and I'm sticking to the central area of each flagstone, working out towards the edge, so you will get that gradation of grey, so you will have the brighter greys towards the centre of the stones, moving towards the darker greys, and then to the blacks in the cracks. And this will actually take a couple of coats, and each coat you put down, you want to focus a little bit more in the centre, but also be slightly different in how you apply your shapes onto the base. It's a little bit difficult to explain, but here you can see that I've applied colour to the centre of the flagstone, but I've applied a little bit more to one side, so you get different gradations of the grey and little bits of raised highlights, and it just gives it a little bit more of a 3D look. So rather than just applying a solid block of colour, it's going on in lines and patterns and shapes. I'm probably not doing a very good job of describing that process, but hopefully what you're seeing on screen will give you a better idea of what I mean. For example, you can see that I've left a little bit of the Mechanicus Standard Grey showing through the centre of the tile that I've just applied paint to there. And once you've gone all the way around the base doing each individual flagstone, your first flagstone should be relatively dry, so you can go back to that one and apply another coat. And again, you're going to put it on in a different shape, in a different pattern, in different blocks, so you are getting a mottled sort of finish. You don't want these to look like completely solid flat flagstones. They need to have a little bit of variation in the texture and the colouring. So you can see with this second coat, I'm just doing little lines and just hitting those corners and focusing more on bits where I think light might more naturally hit a flagstone. And we're gradually just building up those layers. And you can see at this point, that's already looking relatively decent, and you could leave it at that stage if you wanted to, but I'm going a little further. I'm going to a brighter grey again. I'm going to Administratum Grey. And I'm just going to do basically the same thing again. So I have watered this paint down quite a lot. And I'm focusing on more of the central areas of the flagstones again, and the areas where I feel that light would more naturally hit the miniature. And by keeping the paint thin, you can pull it around and you can go back to it and apply second or third coats if you want to. And you can see here what I'm doing again is I'm not just doing a solid coat of the colour over the whole flagstone. I'm spotting it in areas, I'm doing little shapes, little patterns. Sometimes I'll do a triangle of colour in the very middle of the flagstone. Sometimes I'll do just a line around the edge or a curve. Or I will follow around a previous pattern that's been forming in the paint. And if you keep doing this, it just brings a sense of more depth and a more 3D look to it, which is the best you can hope for when you're painting on a completely flat integrated base, really. And of course you could achieve more of a 3D look by using a texture paint or by putting gravel or something on the base. But as I mentioned at the start of the video, I wanted these bases to feel like they were tied more to the 2D art of the board itself. So this is a very specific way of making the miniatures look like part of the game. And it's not something that I would necessarily do on any other miniatures for any other product line. And in fact, this is the first time that I've ever attempted to paint 2D flagstones. But there you go, that's it with all three of the greys applied. And again, you can leave it at that point. You've got a decent looking semi 3D texture. But I'm just going to do one more thing to help tie the colours together a little bit more, and also to make it look a little bit dirtier. And that is, of course, I'm going to apply Agrax Earthshade. And you don't need a lot of Agrax Earthshade here, and you do not want it to pool or anything like that. You really just want to put the thinnest coat of Agrax over the whole thing. It will help to define a little ridge around the integrated base, and it will just knock down the colours and help them blend together a little bit more, but really just make sure it doesn't pool on any of the flat surfaces. And when it is dry, that is what you end up with, and I'm pretty happy with how that has turned out, and I'm going to be using this process on all of the bases for all of the miniatures in HeroQuest. But now, with that out of the way, my next thing is to move on to actually painting the miniatures themselves, and as I mentioned, the next video will be painting the skeleton that is featured in this video, so do please watch out for that video. For now, thank you so much for watching. If you have liked the video, please consider pressing the like button. If you really like the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so, and hopefully I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone, bye bye.